Yesterday.
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Indeed, 1 hour after Japanese air squadrons had commenced bombing in the American island of Oahu, the Japanese ambassador to the United States and his colleague delivered to our Secretary of State a formal reply to a recent American message. And while this reply stated that it seemed useless to continue the existing diplomatic negotiations, it contained no threat or hint of war or of armed attack. It will be recorded that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. During the intervening time, the Japanese government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. I regret to tell you that very many American lives have been lost. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
Well, it's a very somber day today.
75 years ago today.
Yeah.
And we'd like to welcome you to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip. And it is Wednesday, and December 7th. And I don't know, CJ, we're doing everything manually today, and it's a day, but I'm not sure if you were aware of it. I didn't get a chance to tell you because it came in. I just received word not too long ago that Bill Kayla has passed away, former president of the Teachers Union.
Yes, Rebecca Cusack made that announcement yesterday. I was going to bring that up next, so thank you for
he was a good friend and was the president of the union, Teachers Union when I was, and He always fought hard for his membership. He was the old school union guy. He wasn't afraid to take the gloves off if he had to. He was never feared to negotiate, but never backed away from taking on the city if he had to. And he will be missed.
He must have went to the Chip Kamara School of Collective Bargaining.
We were very good friends.
Yep.
We sat together on many occasions and discussed strategies and stuff. Bill wasn't afraid. He's not the new breed, the type that want to make nice with the mayor. We had a very simple philosophy that we extended mutual respect and we peacefully coexisted. But in order to be union versus management, it is an adversarial relationship, and you have to understand that. You can't be buddies on a professional level with management, because as we see in big industry that screwed all the workers, they're only your friend as long as they can tuck it to you. And you got to realize that you're fighting for people's rights and workers' rights, that to corporations and businesses, the bottom line is always profit. So Billy wasn't afraid. He stood up and he had many epic battles, and I enjoyed watching him work, and I had the utmost respect for him as a union leader. He will be sorely missed.
It's something that we look at as we begin to age, and I've already clipped that half-century mark, so I'm starting to look at the number of my friends which are no longer around, and the people I've worked with, and the hazards that we have with age and the economy and so many other issues. And it's difficult, because it's always difficult to say goodbye, especially to somebody who fought so hard for his membership, for his friends, for his colleagues. And a day like today, where we remember what happened 75 years ago, where over 2,400 Americans were killed. Yeah. And we think about the shortness, the brevity of life, that you're here today, but tomorrow you get hit by a bus and it's over. So, at 12:55 this afternoon, at Battleship Cove, aboard the USS Massachusetts, there will be a memorial program, and that would coincide with the bombing of Pearl Harbor because of the time difference between us. So that would be 7:55 Hawaii time.
Yeah, and the greatest memorial we can give all those men who and women who gave their lives is to remember the sacrifice they made by being in uniform, and just remember that as something we've been talking about a lot since this election, and something I've been talking about being an American. And I talked about having the Japanese Americans, Nisi Japanese, in internment camps. We segregated them, yet the men that fought in the European theater of operation served with conspicuous gallantry for their country, because they were Americans. And what we have to take from this somber day is the two things. Number one, that the sacrifices that all men and women who put a uniform on make every single day they put that uniform on. And secondly, that we can never carve out anybody. We carved out the Japanese Americans, and they had the most decorated unit in the European theater of operation. Those men that left their wives and their mothers and their children in concentration camps still put their life on a line for the United States. They were Americans. And that's what we have to be again today, because believe me, what's going on is unacceptable. It flies in the face of what this nation is supposed to represent, a melting pot Now we've got people from the Electoral College acting like little children and pulling their lip and saying, I'm not going to do what I was, so, you know, what they're saying to me is, we're finally coming out and letting the people of America know that the political machines in the United States really don't care what we want. They want what they want. If their candidate would have won, they wouldn't be. Now they don't like the candidate. Well, you don't like the candidate, suck it up. There have been a lot of votes that would take it in my lifetime I didn't like, but you have to suck it up. And that's one of the problems we have in this country now, this sense of, if I don't get my way, you know, the earth has to stop revolving. And now we're going to try to undo the election again by another means. First, it was, you know, they find an excuse. And the bottom line is, all it is an excuse. The reality is, first, they didn't want Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side. Then they didn't want Donald Trump, and Donald Trump get in. So now we're going to have people now protesting. Well, you're part of the Electoral College. The Electoral College was created for a reason. Do your job. You don't like the job, quit. But the fact is, you know, we're never going to get past this, obviously, and you can like or dislike him as a president. But the fact is, he is the president now, and let's do what people a very, very long time ago did. You know, more than 75 years. 75 years ago, when the Japanese Americans were put in internment camps, yet they still enlisted and served their country, in spite of the hardships their families were subjected to. Those are Americans. And I don't care what color they are, but the United States cared what color they were. And we still haven't learned that lesson today. Let's forget about all these things that we use to divide us and think about what the one thing that unites us. We're all Americans. And until we begin to believe that and practice that, this country will continue down the road to perdition.
Well, couldn't have said it better myself, Chip. And, you know, it's interesting because, as you know, our current president-elect has been named by Time the person of the year or the man of the year, but they gave him a dig. They called him the president-elect of the divided states of America. And they're not wrong.
No.
They're not wrong, because this country has become so divided, I think almost in the history, almost in the history of the United States. So we did have one other election that was very similar to this. But, you know, and I hate saying this because they're going to say, oh, you're picking on him, but, you know, when our mayor was elected and he started out of the barrel making mistakes, and we said, no, we can't tolerate this, what was the word they always said? Give him a chance. He's only been mayor for 30 days, give him a chance. He's only been mayor for 90 days, give him a chance. He's only been mayor 6 months, give him a chance. It was always give him a chance. This guy hasn't even gotten into the office of president yet, and they're ready to line him against the wall and kill him. You know, they want to hang him by the yardarm. They want to keelhaul him. The nautical people know what that is.
Yeah. We're going to have a few people trying to look him up. Keelhaul, yeah. But you're right, CJ. You know, the thing is that, you know, but this is the problem. You know, the old adage, united we stand, divided we fall. You know, the political, both parties, and you know it, you were trained.
By both of them.
You know, that's their strategy, divide and conquer.
Yes, it is.
You identify a demographic, you identify their hot button issues, and you do it, and you go after those things. So you separate them from the reality of what's best for the country, and you appeal to what is really their sensitive area. I mean, and they all do it. Okay, the Democrats this election did it by ethnicity and race. And they hacked this country up into little pieces, saying, you got to vote, and then they expect everybody to heal again,
right.
And that doesn't happen. But and years ago, the Republicans did it with, it well, when Dukakis ran, it was like he's going to, they went down south and told all the guys riding around in the trucks with shotguns, he's going to take your guns away.
Yep.
Then we had Willie Horton, he's going to let all the felons out of jail.
Right.
He doesn't like the, he's anti-death penalty, he's this, he's that. And that's what they do. And then they went into the Bible Belt and they said he's in favor of abortion. And see, these are the things that, they want you to look at the tree, not the forest. And the problem is, after the election, they want everybody to go, oh, forget it. But that's horse crap, because the fact is, it's not being realistic. They got their way and they're happy. Then they'll mouth the words, we have to unite again.
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
But
most of us know people and families that haven't spoken in decades
right.
because of an affront.
But we had the same thing happen during the recall.
Yeah.
We had the same thing happen during the recall because the city became divided. It was you had another civil war, and you had brothers fighting brothers.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. And again, politics in Fall River is a blood sport. Let's be realistic. It truly is a blood sport. But when are people just going to let it go? All right, they're all on the Jill Stein bandwagon right now to do a recount. Well, one of the states that you need has been shot down. She needs to have 40 electoral votes shift from Trump over to Hillary. It's not going to happen. So why are you wasting millions and millions of dollars? Why? Because the people want to feel they're doing something.
Yeah, and because they want who they want.
Right.
And they don't care if they use the Electoral College, the popular vote, just like they told their people, we don't want Bernie Sanders.
Right.
They want Hillary in, and they're never going to be happy for as long as Donald Trump is in, because as I said, there are people that we all know, people who haven't spoken for decades.
That's right.
And over stuff a lot less separating than some of this dialogue has been. I remember when I first got involved in a union, I had a woman that I knew, and she was a nice woman, and but she was very naive, and she said, oh, you should never get involved in a union. I said, why? She said, because I know two people, a father and a son, who haven't spoken in 25 years because the father crossed the picket line and his son was a union guy. And that's why you shouldn't do it. I said, well, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. But I think that somebody has to fight for workers' rights and for the people, because as we see, we see what's happened in America, and they can blame anything they want. And if the unions would have made 8 million concessions, all those jobs would still be in Bangladesh and Taiwan or in some places that still have slavery, because big business doesn't give two craps about workers. They don't believe in giving you a livable wage. And that's why capitalism, in theory, is nice, but it doesn't work. And neither does communism. They're all theories. They're all economic theories, and they never truly work in practice.
Kensington Electronics.
Do we have capitalism in this country when we have drug companies that are allowed to just forget about the free market? They can charge Americans for American drugs 5 times what they charge in every other country.
That's right.
And they go unfettered. The government has allowed them to become virtual monopolies, and technically they're not monopolies because there's more than one drug company.
Exactly.
But they all have. But in reality, that's theoretically communism works. Theoretically, capitalism works. Does capitalism really work when Walmart runs everybody out of business and then they can do whatever they want and pay their workers crap and abuse their workers? Yeah, capitalism only works in theory. Everybody loves to talk about the free market. There's no free market in this country. There's no free market. That's why we have no more middle class. The free market is a world market now, and that's what big business created. And I can show you a book that was written 60 years ago that predicted this, that they wanted to get a world wage, and they were going to move to wherever it took to get the cheapest labor possible and the highest profits available. And that's why capitalism doesn't work anymore. This country is all about big business, and it's worse now than it ever was. And even in the 1800s, when big business said, we run the country, now they really run it.
Well, I've got a little picture to show you. Came in from our tipsters.
Oh. Wow, that looks like the DPW garage.
It is the city garage,
city
the Lewiston
garage
Street
now,
garage.
Yeah, I've been in that garage a
Yep,
few times.
and the funny thing is that I had to request last night at midnight of the city under Mass General Law 6610 the contract for LAL, who is doing this work. Meanwhile, didn't we talk about LAL recently, who was doing the measurements in there?
Yep.
And they were cleaning out the pit?
Yep.
With that, they're dumping stuff into the pit. So under that 6610 request, I asked for the contract, the RFP, because that's more than a $5,000 job. I wanted a detailed listing of the fill used for that they've dumped into the hole, and now they've already capped. Because if there's petroleum, or if there's paint, or if there's something hazardous, we have a right to know. And the people who provide this picture are saying, don't say where it comes from. I said, we never say who our tips come from. They're like, no, you don't understand. Everyone walks around that garage in fear of their job. I said, well, are you a worker? And they were like, oh, well, you know, it's not that the workers, it's just that people are afraid of losing their job. And I've gotten that from a woman who calls in every so often who doesn't work for the city. And she gets information and she passes it on. And she says the same thing. She says, don't say that it came from anybody anywhere, because they're all going to get fired. Whether it come from government center, the school department, DCM, police, fire, everyone's afraid they're going to get fired. Because it's, I'm going to say these words, Chip, prepare yourself, hostile work environment.
Uh-oh, sounds like a complaint to me.
Okay? If you can't go to work and do your job without the fear of repercussions every time you do your job, or every time you uphold the law and refuse to break it, that's a problem. So we're going to wait to see what this produces from Government Center, because I think it's important that we know, because I'll tell you now, and I looked over some of the history of Detroit. You know that place that's bankrupt? Decaying properties and everything else? I really like our viewers to start following that a little bit and go back in its history and then start coordinating it with Fall River. And guess what? They're like twins. It's scary. So
They all are.
Yeah, they are. And now, as we remember, we spoke about this earlier about the housing report that came out.
Oh, boy.
Okay, the housing report came out and said we have too much public housing, we have too much social services, we have too many drug addicts, and we need more beds like we need a hole in the head. And as we spoke about in our last show, Pravda wants to bring more beds in. Carol Fiola said we've done our share. The report shows that we don't need any more public housing, yet the Commonwealth, under mass development, which, by the way, Ken Fiola uses mass development for a lot of things, for a lot of the friends of the mayor who need money, is giving to Ship's Cove. You know that subsidized housing complex?
Yeah, they used to have another name.
I think was that Riverview or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was Riverview Towers.
Yeah, Riverview Towers. It was one of those other names. But there they are. And remember, this is the place where somebody, either jumped or got thrown out of a window and died at the bottom, where they burned mattresses in the stairwells. Really classy joint. They were just given tax-exempt bonds for $12.8 million to renovate 201 affordable housing units. And they were given a taxable bond of $1.173 million to make more low-income housing available in one of the buildings in the city which is trying to compete with some of the housing authority complexes on crime.
So that's $14 million this place got.
Yep, $14 million for low-income housing. Now, all you property owners out there who own a triple-decker or who own a duplex or even a six-family, would you like to get $14 million to rehab your building? You could make it the Taj Mahal.
You know, CJ, it's just mind-boggling. But we've always said, look, if they ever gave the state of Massachusetts an enema, the left cheek would be Fall River and the right cheek would be New Bedford. So that's where they could stick the tube, and that's what they think of us down here. We are the place you begin the enema insertion.
But I want you to also remember that mass development is the same organization, the same state agency that a year and a half, 2 years ago, Jay's Correa applied for a $250,000 grant to expand his business, which he didn't receive.
And I'd like to know who owned this property, because I'd say, I'd like to see how much they gave some of the bigwigs, because, power. But the other problem is...
It's the NHP Foundation.
Yeah, and we're going to find out who these people are. But the other thing is, listen, this is this is not this isn't like a myth. This is happening. They're renovating a place that's got nothing but problems. And you know why? They want everybody down here. We made a joke about Escape from New York. But that's what they want Fall River to be. This is the place they dump everybody. So even in spite of the fact they said we've got too much of these units, they're going to give somebody $14 million to rehab one of the most crime-ridden units in the city. And it just flies in the face of reality and of prudency. How can you continue to dump taxpayer money, almost $13 million, tax-exempt bonds to a private entity to do what? And this is a quote. Ships Cove plays a significant role in Fall River's affordable housing landscape, unquote.
That is our landscape.
CEO of NHP. Yeah, they also play a significant role in the police logs.
Hey, they're keeping the police officers working.
Yeah, and in the crime rate of the city of Fall River. So, we wonder what is wrong. This is government, again, giving money and because somebody's got a connection. And they're going to get, and there's no doubt about it. And what they should do is bulldoze that thing and, and ship some of them out to some of the other cities. Or as Carol Fiola said, let's have them share the wealth.
Exactly.
And I wonder if she voted for this $12.8 million tax.
They don't vote. It's a private board that does that for the Mass Development Corporation. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Friday. And if you can, get down to Battleship Cove today for a little bit of remembrance.
And even if you don't remember what happened today.
At 12:55, please sit there and think about it. Have a great day.
And stay angry or you'll get a loan tax-free.